Hello, my name is Steven Kilger. I'm managing editor for Feed and Grain magazine, and you're listening to the Feed and Grain podcast. This is our first ever episode, and I want to thank you for kind of listening along with us from the beginning. Once a month, I'll be talking to experts in the feed and grain industries about things that are happening in the industry. So I will be talking to mill managers and grain elevator managers about what's happening at their facilities, and I'll be talking to experts in some of the leading problems that are facing the industry and what can be done about them. These are the type of conversations you might have yourself in person at a trade show. The first guest on the Feed and Grain podcast is Jeff Jones, Vice President and Director of Eastern Operations for MKC. He's also incredibly involved in the Grain Elevator and Processing Society, aka Jeeps, where he was the international president last year and currently serves as the chairman on their international board. I want to thank him so much for talking with us today. He's all around just a great guy to talk to and has plenty of advice for new people entering the industry and people who want to increase their careers. We also talk a little bit about Jeeps. So let's jump right in. We have this kind of cliche question that we used to ask at Feed and Grain during our facility visits, which I've done quite a few of. So I actually dropped it from my question list. But what challenges do you feel like your facilities are facing right now? What kind of are your hurdles, your stumbling blocks?
Yeah, no, it is. I understand the cliche part of the question, but it is something that we have to focus on, whether we're doing an interview with a magazine or whether we're having a conversation with one of our colleagues, next door. So labor's the big one right now. I think you probably understand that as well, Stephen. You've seen the news and hear those shortages and different things, not only with the pandemic, but that's been going on for a while in ag. We're big on hiring the best. We want premier talent within MKC, and right now you have to fight for that, and that's not a bad thing because it makes us as MKC up our game as well. And I think we have a great opportunity for young folks to come in and develop themselves within the company. But I would say one of the biggest challenges right now is the labor market. There's not a lot of kids coming back home to the farm. There's not a lot of kids coming back to where they're from straight out of college and ag school too. So you're really having to put a lot of effort into the recruiting part of that to get quality talent to come back and be part of your organization.
It's a big part of it's kind of the divide between rural and urban labor and how everyone's kind of been sucked towards the cities for opportunity, not realizing that there are some great opportunities in their own hometown.
That's a great point because I'd like to add something to that too. As we're just talking here, you don't have to be an ag person anymore in the elevator or in agronomy or the grain business per se. We just need somebody that has a positive attitude, that's willing to learn, willing to ask questions, and just come on board and have a little patience, humility, and learn from the ground up. I think the days of, like I alluded to in the past, where the kid that comes in, he knows maybe how to weld, definitely the difference between soybean, corn, milo. That kind of individual that can get up there and grade and just learn it in 2 or 3 days. You don't need to be that person anymore. Technology has changed our world in such a facet that we have the opportunity to change with it too, and the people that we bring on board. So I always encourage anybody, even if you've never given ag a look, it'd be something to come in and sit down and talk to us and hear what we do, because you might fit in with your skill set that you never thought you would have in the past. So I think you bring up a good point there that I wanted to add a little bit on.
Especially because I've found within the grain industry, there's a lot of, we like to promote from within, right?
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
like to build people up. So you don't need to have agronomy degree. You can come in and you can learn the industry. And if you're willing to learn and to work, the industry is very happy to embrace you and help your knowledge base and help build you up to whoever you want to be within the grain industry.
Absolutely, 100%. We've went as far as to hiring a training and development position full time, along with other HR people that we have. But that's her main focus at our facilities, is to train that person, provide opportunities to learn and grow for somebody that might not understand exactly how to blend fertilizer or do things like that. They don't understand potentially chemical CPP makeups and different things like that. So we're going to do a lot of that in-house training ourselves. There's some experts and subject matter experts that are already in-house. So you bet. it gives somebody the opportunity to come in with just that attitude of positivity and willingness to learn, that you might be a top performer pretty quick, like within our organization or somebody else.
Yeah, I've never seen the industry turn down anyone who wants to advance and wants to grow.
Absolutely, that's a great point. No, we'll take everyone. You bet.
Which was very nice for me as a young editor because everyone was always so willing to talk to me and help me learn and understood that I didn't know everything, which in some other industries, that's just not the case. They expect you to come in out of college kind of knowing everything, everything you should know, right?
Yeah, I think we both probably learned that real quick right after college. Wow, I definitely didn't learn everything that I
Oh,
needed to know and started a position. So you bet.
so has the labor shortage, is that kind of the big area that people are talking about when you talk to other people in grain?
Yeah, it is. Just quite honestly, we're down probably 20, 25 positions within our company. I talked to several other cooperative leaders, throughout the Midwest, and of course through Jeeps. And I mean, that's a pretty common theme around the country. I know there's various different ways people are trying to solve that.
Hmm.
Technology and becoming more efficient, kind of leading the way. But no, that's a big driver right now of where we're at in the cooperative world of trying to find help for the future. You bet.
Yeah, I've seen some facilities make a big push towards automation because of labor shortages. They wouldn't have necessarily gone as far as they would have if they could have reliably just hired someone in that position.
You're right. No, it's been a big push with MKC as well. We believe fully automated in any new greenfield sites is imperative for the future. We went back with some of our other older sites and retrofitted some with automation. But you're right. I mean, there has to be an answer. As we talked about here in the beginning, agriculture doesn't slow down. We did not slow down during the pandemic. Farmers are still going to be out there every day working hard to bring a crop in, put a crop in. And we have to keep up with them no matter if you have 20 openings or 50 openings. You have to find a way to do that. And automation has definitely been a huge plus for, I think, myself and a lot of folks in the same boat here.
Yeah, I'm sure. I just came back from IPPE. It's an International Production
Yep.
and Processing Expo. Yep. So I just came back from that last week, and the what everyone was talking about was more sustainability. Are you guys talking a lot about that?
We are, yeah. At MKC, we have what's called our scorecard. It's how we measure ourselves as a company and our success, and puts in focus where we want to be, and kind of gives us a guiding lane to stay in, for choice of better words. But no, sustainability is one of those initiatives. Carbon's a big deal that people are talking about. Our agronomy leads are involved with that quite a bit right now. I'm actually involved with an initiative around jug recycling. You
Oh,
think, wow, that's not a real glamorous type of sustainability initiative. But when you think about an agronomy business, even like MKC that does well over 1 million acres of application a year, there's a lot of 2.5 jugs and plastic that goes through our facilities. It was mind blowing, the
yeah.
thousands and thousands of jugs that we use. So I'm actually in an initiative with our director of facilities, John Brown, who we're working on putting a performer together around shredding and chipping all of that
Mhm.
plastic, and actually being able to resell that back to a manufacturer that'll come in and reuse that. If it's properly triple rinsed and taken care of. And it's a sustainability issue that I think has a lot of merit going forward. It's instead of taking those to the landfill and and just piling those up or whatever they do with them out there, it gives us an opportunity to kind of control our destiny and be able to make some positive effect on all of that amount of plastic that we're actually using out there. So yeah, sustainability at MKC has become a really big, not just a word. It's become an
Yeah.
initiative driven by the board that we want to put into action.
You couldn't avoid it even if you wanted to. I mean,
No, not
people are
anymore.
demand people are demanding it. Like,
No, you're right, 100%.
and your drug recycling, that's a great example though that, sustainability, it doesn't all it always seems so huge, right? When you think
It
about like,
does.
oh, how do you make agriculture net neutral when it comes to resources, right? That's a big challenge, but it starts with little, or not that I'm saying your drug program, because it sounds like you have a lot involved there with your shipping it and reselling it back.
There is, there is. I
But
mean, it's not a moneymaker. I'll be honest with you. It's a break even at best to losing a little bit of money, but it's ultimately being able to do the right thing
mhm.
with those jugs, with that practice that actually serves a greater good. So that's kind of the mindset that you have to have around that at times as well.
Yeah, it's a journey. It's not going to be a sudden leap from
It is not.
where we are to where we need to be.
No,
And
it's not. What better entity than the American farmer, and agriculture to drive that? I mean, I think we've been the stewards of, or farmers have been the stewards of their land for many, many years and done a lot of fantastic things to be sustainable. Now we just up that game a little bit more and help them and utilize them to continue to grow this word. Like you said, it is a journey. I mean, that was a great comment you made, Stephen. It is a journey. It's kind of a very popular word right now, but there's been a
mhm.
lot of things that have been taken action over the years for sustainability in agriculture. Now we just need to kind of repurpose that thought process, in my opinion, and keep moving forward with all the great folks we have in ag to build on that. So
Yeah, I think so too. And well, you mentioned, the American farmer, and you and I have both talked to many farmers in our career, and everyone I've ever talked to, there's no denying that they want to keep their land as sustainable as they can. Every one of them wants to pass it down to the next generation.
they're
They don't
great
want
stewards.
to.
Yep.
Yep. So we people need to help them and give them the tools, and they will, I'm sure, do it.
Yes, sir.
Um. So thank you. Yeah, sustainability has been on my mind a lot lately, so I had to bring that in.
No, I appreciate that. It's something we're talking about on a daily basis at MKC as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think over the next couple years, we're really going to see a lot of new suggestions and guidelines and equipment and things that'll help on that process. What has kind of been the biggest change in the industry that's happened so far? What have you noticed that's different from when you started?
Yeah, no, it's great. Great question. I think probably one of the biggest things that I've noticed is a consolidation. I think that's something a lot of us talk about on a pretty regular basis. In the past in Kansas, when I started, there was probably 140, 150 cooperatives still in the state of Kansas. Some of those small one location, two location, and some larger ones. And today I think we're in that 70 to 80 number.
Hmm.
So just a consolidation alone in the cooperative world and in the vendor world. I mean, there's been a lot of big um, uh, conglomerates come together. Your options have definitely shrank a little bit in who the players are in the market. So I think that's kind of done a couple things. It's made relevance be extremely important in the market. I
Hmm.
think relevance has even became more important in the last 10, 11 years I've been in this business. You have to strive to be to relevant in your market, to those vendors, to the farmer, and to other businesses as well. So I think consolidation has probably played the biggest part and the biggest change that I've seen in the last 10 to 11 years.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've been in the industry for 8, and it seems like every week there's a new merging agreement deal, buyout
Yes.
deal, or
Yeah.
something that's going through. So, and part of it is commercial. The big EDMs and Cargills and Bungies of the world. I mean, they're getting larger too. So, with anything, cooperatives, I think, are finding that they need to merge to stay competitive and stay alive
Yeah.
in a
I mean,
world that.
ultimately, you're right. I mean, the ABCDs are fantastic. That's part of our ag history by all means. But for us as a cooperative in the state of Kansas, we have to be relevant to our farmers, and we have to make sure that there's growth and success for them for the future. And that's the important part of being relevant. I mean, you have to be able to bring
Mhm.
top notch programs and opportunities for them in an ever shrinking world of vendors and things like that. So I appreciate that comment because there's no truer comment that in a cooperative, a member owned business that I work directly for a farmer, I need to make sure that we're relevant and we're doing the thing that's going to keep this cooperative here for years to come and be successful. So I appreciate you realizing that as well.
Well, I went to a facility earlier this year. for New Cooperative, which they put
Hmm.
in a port in
Yeah.
Elko. A very simple project, but one that was kind of desperately needed in the area. And as I was talking to them, they're like, "Well, that's the thing about a cooperative, right? We're gonna even if this isn't the most financially viable use of this money, it's the most useful for our members, and therefore we will do it." Versus, a private company who ultimately has a bottom line that they have to increase.
Yeah. Reinvestment's so important into facilities. The shuttle loaders that we brought in the last few years. I mean, one about 7, 8 years ago, and then one about 4 or 5 years ago. Now at Milan and Canton, those just bring a global marketplace to the middle of Kansas that wasn't there in a cooperative manner in the past. So when we can access those global markets and be able to bring that type of opportunity to our owners, that's a great win for all of us. So you're right. New Coffee is doing the right thing there as well. I know those guys, and they do a fantastic job of that.
Yeah, they're very nice. That's another great thing about the grain industry is and feed industry, all of agriculture really is that you tend to like people that would normally probably be considered rivals in another industry or whatever, but here they can be your colleagues.
Absolutely. You compete for the same acre out there with other cooperatives, but the minute they might need something, or we can help each other potentially with a small project, or just visit back and forth with a safety issue. I mean, it seems like as cooperative groups, we all come together for the greater good of what our true meaning is as that cooperative, and what it was built to do as a group of people coming together.
Exactly. It's very nice to see in a sometimes very cynical world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is. Yeah.
So what advice would you give to someone who's kind of starting out their career in
Yeah.
grain? What would you tell them to do?
Great. I again, I was that person who grew up kind of on a small farm in Missouri, but definitely did not have any inkling of how much workings went into to a grain business. My grandfather dairied for 50 years, so it was a lot different, back in the day, and he was done when I was in school. So, this was new to me. And you asked me a question about something I'm pretty passionate about, and that's development and growing yourself within a business. So I would encourage folks to do a couple things. First of all, be inquisitive.
Hmm.
So much we're taught to just observe. Never do that. Get involved. Ask a question every day. That's one thing I challenged myself 11 or so years ago is I'm going to learn something different every day. And I was
Hmm.
surrounded by a bunch of people when I started at the cooperative that were willing to teach me and show me. But I was going to force myself to learn something every day. Why? Why did you make that blend of fertilizer? Why is the spec that on that blend that you're doing, that you're shipping to the mill or something of that nature? So be inquisitive um, in that aspect. Ask lots of questions. Challenge yourself every day to learn something new. One of the other things I would encourage people to do, and it's a skill set, a soft skill set that a lot of us just don't utilize much anymore, is get involved in public speaking.
Hmm.
Get involved in having these type of conversations with folks to challenge yourself, become comfortable in talking to people. This is a job where it is very relational. We come in and we might have a relationship with a different department in agronomy or risk management or energy, and then we also have those same relationships with our grower owners, the farmers.
Hmm.
And you have to be comfortable in going out and having these types of conversations, and basically helping them be successful in their daily tooling of what they're doing. So I would encourage folks, take the speech class, take the drama class, make yourself uncomfortable, and get out and do things that are going to be make you very much more valuable in the conversation piece of a company. So I think those two things, a lot of self learning, challenge
Hmm.
yourself, ask questions, don't sit back in the shadows and just be part of something, work to be a leader of something, and then build your soft skill set of speaking in public, having conversations, and some of those things that make us uncomfortable when we have to do podcast with somebody sitting in
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Well, yeah, that's great advice. I mean, and selfishly, I really like it because it makes my job much easier. If people are a little more comfortable talking to people, and that's a great way to stand out from your peers as well as future leadership, right? Because the ability to, I mean, once you get into the mid to upper level of management, part of your job becomes becoming one of the faces of the company. You have to go
Absolutely.
out there and
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
talk and deliver your message. When I got into this career too, I had a hard time, doing this.
I can understand completely. There was times when I first joined this organization, and I was not straight out of college. I come here as a second job in my career, and you just didn't feel like you were part of something yet. You had to force
Mhm.
yourself into those conversations to a certain extent by learning those different wordings and practices that we do. But
Yeah.
if you do that, people are more than willing. I know in our business, in ag industry, it is a very relational business. The relationships you forge have a lot of areas for networking and growing, and that's how you build yourself within an organization. So I think we're very welcoming in that aspect.
Oh, and also if you end up at trade shows, vendors are going to love you if you go up to their booths and ask, "Oh, why is that number important?" They will they will talk your ear off about it. They're more than happy to explain.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We do work in an older industry, and people are starting to retire. So some people are now going up to fill those management positions.
Yeah.
What would you give? Do you have advice for kind of new managers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question, and again, one that I enjoy as well. I think I'm big on servant leadership.
Hmm.
Um, there's a lot that goes into being a leader, a lot more than people see. Um, it's just not a telling job that you're in. You're not always the teller. You're the coach. You're the mentor, the counselor. You do a lot of things. So as a young leader coming in, again, I would suggest that you find somebody. I've told my folks find somebody that does a really good job in the industry and get in their pocket, follow them around, learn how they do it, and then take pieces of that from several individuals that you're doing that and make yourself. You're not going to be successful if you're just another Jeff Jones.
Hmm.
By all means, but maybe I have a piece that I do something well, they think, and maybe some of our leaders have some other pieces that they do really well. Develop that mentor relationship, that mentor mentee relationship where you have some time to go once a month or once a quarter and have lunch and have some serious discussions around why the why. Why do we do it this way? Why do you do it that way? And take a little bit from each of those folks and create yourself. But the art of listening and understanding your people, Stephen, becomes so important as a leader. They'll tell you what they want to do, and they'll show you and tell you what they're good at, and then it's your responsibility to pick the right seat on the bus for people to sit. And sometimes that's uncomfortable, sometimes it's fun, but it really helps people be successful in their path forward up the chain. I think. I'm very blessed to have good people that work for me. I mean, um, they are what make me successful. By all means,
Hmm.
my uh, division pod of MKC is successful because of all the folks that work with me and for me and do all the hard work out in the locations every day to make us successful at MKC. So you bet, and that you hope you have a little piece of that of guidance and just coaching and mentoring them and that's how we're successful. Is those people know what they're expected to do and they perform at a very high level.
So Jeff, you're very involved in Jeeps.
Yes.
Um, what makes you find that relationship so valuable?
Um, what drew me to Jeeps a little bit, and just to talk real quick, like here is just the value of the networking and the education that Jeeps has been such a proponent um, for 90 plus years now. It's an awesome organization to be part of. I'm honored when I sit and look at the list of presidents and some of the things and accomplishments that those folks have done in the grain industry, and that's something I wanted to be part of. You want to leave. I don't want to call it a legacy because I got a lot of years left in working and everything, but I want to be part of something that makes a difference every day, or provides an opportunity for somebody to develop themselves and grow themselves in the grain industry. And I think Jeeps does that. Not only for the people that want to come and be involved in a local chapter, like the Great Plains chapter that I've been a part of here for several years, but on an international level of growth, serving on the board. But it's for those folks that just go in every day, want to do their job the best they can be in a grain elevator or a mill, and they just want some education. They just want to know how or what.
Mm.
And I think we provide that as well for a lot of those folks. And that's a really important part of it for me as well, the knowledge piece.
Well, yeah, especially as our industry has, I don't want to say shrunk, but as less people are involved in agriculture, as it becomes less of a part of people's daily lives, I mean, the opportunities for education, you have to really go out and search them. There aren't a ton of universities or anything that, do a lot of research with grain
Yeah.
handling.
Yeah, it's a great point. We are fortunate in Kansas to have Kansas State, but there are a lot of universities that still are. University of Arkansas has a rice program. Purdue, North Dakota State. There's a lot of those universities that still have some facet of programming that you can get involved in and learn and be involved in ag in that aspect. But no, we're trying to leverage ourselves as Jeeps as finding the best partners that we can. With Iowa State and like I
Hmm.
mentioned, Purdue and some of those others. So it's a little different than it has been in the past, but I think that is an important aspect of Jeeps. Is, as you mentioned, there is a shrinking, condensing of opportunities out there. So that's part of us as a board is to take full advantage of new and exciting things for folks, and that's what we're trying to do now. There's
Yeah.
been a lot of different movement with other partners and some different offerings and education and things like that I think are exciting and somewhat um, lend an ear to maybe a variety of people that want to get involved in our industry that you need to be appealing to. So
Yeah. As the younger generations move in, they kind of expect a lot of different ways to learn and to access information. And I mean, Jeeps and their partnership with K State and now Iowa State and their education program has always been one of those opportunities that are kind of hard to come by, and you can do it all digitally now, right? So
yeah, you can, and you're right. Things have changed how people want to learn. That's a great comment you made. People do not want to sit and just listen or being talked to, um, like they did maybe 15 years ago. And I think you have to evolve with the times. There are a lot of opportunities where short learnings have really become important. Those 3 to 5 minute trainings that are you can
mm,
use as a toolbox talk or just a quick training on a daily, weekly basis. But the interactive part of learning, we're a world of automation and interaction with all these new technologies and games that kids play and things. And just to sit and watch something on the computer screen or in that type of learning environment, Stephen, is not what they want anymore. They want to
yeah,
be touching and pointing and clicking and critical thinking as you're actually doing um, a learning session. So, when you lose focus on something, if you're sitting there for an hour just listening. So I think, we're putting a lot of effort in to reworking some of those, I guess you can almost say antiquated learnings that we've had in the past. But,
yeah, yeah,
the material and the value of what they are, the meat of it is good. It's just how
yeah.
it's presented that we feel like is going to be a huge opportunity for us for the future.
And speaking of Jeeps, the Jeeps Exchange has for the last couple of years had the team from Oklahoma State with their grain bin entrapment uh, truck or bus.
Oh, yeah, no, the green rescue trailer that comes. Oklahoma
Yeah.
State's a huge proponent of that. My gosh, they do a fantastic job. They'll be with us again in Kansas City here in another month and a half. Um, that group, that's one of the most important things we do.
Hmm.
Safety is a huge part of MKC. It's our number one key. Safety is also important to the Jeeps organization and the
Yep.
ag industry in the whole. It's the first thing we have to think about when we get up every morning. Um, as I talk to my colleagues throughout the United States, we still have way too many folks getting injured and
Yep.
actually being killed in grain bin engulfment. So they come in and provide just an opportunity to not only train fire departments, in-house safety departments, but they just train the farmers and anybody that could be involved in that situation. So ultimately, we want to prevent that situation.
Mhm.
grain quality comes into that, and just knowledge of safety on what to do. But if I can say one thing today on here, it's stay out of a grain bin.
Yeah.
Slow down. Everything needs to be T's crossed, I's dotted. You need to make sure we encourage third party approval before you ever get inside of a grain bin. So it's a scary part of our industry, and I'm just thankful that people like Oklahoma State are getting involved to work hard at preventing that. And exchange is a great opportunity. I mean, you have a couple thousand people that walk through and get to see that, and it sparks their interest around that act of safety.
Yeah, and well, like we were saying, what better way to learn, right, than actually
Oh,
see the demonstration or be involved in the demonstration? Uh, it's it sticks with you so much longer than it would if you were sat in the work office lunchroom and forced to watch a computer
yeah,
video for
yeah.
20
No, you're
minutes.
right. That's a hands-on training until you've been in that situation or experienced it. Either being the one engulfed during training or the one providing the rescue. That's a very intense situation that everybody needs to be aware of and how to handle that. So it's an
Yeah,
important part of exchange every year.
which the Jeeps Exchange is coming up, and everyone, Feed and Grain will be there, as will Jeff, I'm sure.
Yes, we will.
Um, I have found that trade shows like the Jeeps Exchange and like IPPE and various other smaller ones to be kind of invaluable to my career as I've had to learn the industry, and I've had to kind of figure it out as a kid who came into it with no background in ag. I've noticed trade show numbers. It's getting harder and harder to get people to come. COVID has kind of been a bad example this last couple of years, but
Yeah, yeah,
with me, even before that, numbers slowly declining.
yeah.
What do you find so valuable about the kind of trade show experience that you get with something like Jeeps?
Yeah, a couple things. I'd agree. I mean, that's something as a Jeeps board the last couple of years, with a cancellation of exchange due to COVID in Minneapolis, and then last year we had a good Jeeps exchange in Columbus.
Mhm.
Numbers were down a lot. We did have a lot of support from our vendors, Jeeps members, those associate members that stuck with Jeeps and made it a successful event, even with a smaller number of folks on the floor for them. This year, numbers are tracking up at Kansas City.
Good.
We pretty much booked all of our event space with vendors. Thank you to Feed and Grain for continuously being involved and always supporting Jeeps and being there and providing that opportunity for folks to get to know you as well. But what I find important about going to an exchange, a trade show like this, is there's two things really that stick out to me. First and foremost, it's the networking piece. I mean, if you need anything for a facility, a new greenfield site, a repair, expertise, subject matter expertise on a certain thing, it's there. If you take the time to walk and find the vendors that you need to speak with, that you need answers for, you can find it at this trade show, no doubt.
Mhm.
And the networking afterwards fun. It's good just to get back together and not only talk about each other's families and what's going on in the world of co-op and ADM and Bungies, but we also just get to see our friends. There's a lot of friendships forged in this organization, and a lot of personal relationships, which are good for ourselves in the industry. But then the most important part that I really encourage people to take advantage of is the education. I mean, we have speakers coming in this year. Everything from soft skills around MKC. Our director of talent is presenting a internship program that we do at MKC to develop talent within. And it's just an awesome opportunity for people to hear that on a smaller level, how you can start a program like this, the benefits of it, those type of things, all the way to VFD, uh, air fan maintenance,
Mhm.
incident command, um, preparedness. So there's something for everybody to come and learn hands on, like you were talking about earlier. You can come and sit through an hour-long class and pick up a lot of knowledge, which may cause you to generate more conversations or potentially just answer the question that you had to come and learn for. There's over 40
Yeah.
hours of education alone to come and put your folks through and have those opportunities. And we feel a pretty fair price um, to gain some working knowledge there.
Well, especially with it being in Kansas City this year. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
So 3 years,
that.
actually, Stephen. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think you're probably aware of that. Um,
yeah.
the board made a decision a few years back to try this. Um, that's a fine line we walk. I'll just be honest with you and give you a little more inside conversation. Some people love Jeeps to go for not only those couple days, but they make it a vacation afterwards. So there's that destination, the New Orleans, the
Mhm,
Austins, the Denvers. And you might have the associates, and I don't blame them. Our main focus is let's get a bunch of people on the floor so I have people to talk to. So there is a
yeah,
little balancing act there. We walk. Um, we were able to do some things with Kansas City that they provided us some financial savings and things like that to have the repeated exchange there for 3 years. So we're going to try it, and we've sought a lot of advice from vendors, from associate members and regular members, and overwhelmingly it's been, yeah, let's try this center of the United States, kind of that green belt type area. A lot of folks can drive in. So we're going to see how this works for a few years here in a row, and I hope it works out well. So far, numbers are up, tracking a little bit higher than our last time we were at Kansas City, by the way, which was our largest show ever in
yeah.
attendance. So I'm pretty
I
excited
remember that show.
to,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty excited to get started here at the end of March.
All you have to do to make me happy, is have it in a city with barbecue, and that's
Well, you're going to one of the best, in my opinion. I'm from Missouri originally, so I'm kind of a barbecue guy there from Missouri. There's quite a few there, and I can give you the insight when we get there together.
oh, I need it.
Absolutely 100%. There is some fantastic barbecue in the Kansas City area.
So, that's something to be looked at. Maybe we can have you write a blog or something for us, given just the good spots to go to in Kansas City to eat
Hey,
barbecue.
let me know. Let's try to work something up like that. If you'd like some info, I can get you the download.
Excellent, excellent. And I was took on one of your comments about, going and seeing friendships, because we talked about it a little before I started recording, but you become friends with people in the industry pretty fast. I mean, we're a small industry. You see them, every year. Part of these trade shows is always getting to go and reconnect and see how people, what's going on in people's lives and at their facility and things like that you've
Yeah.
known for oftentimes throughout your entire career.
10 or 11 years ago, I never would have thought I'd be sitting on a board with folks from General Mills and Cargill and Bunge and New Co-op and CBA. But I have, and those are some of the bigger names within the business. Each one of those. So it does. It allows you to have people that have a bigger reach than Jeff Jones and MKC in Kansas, and that's an awesome opportunity for all of us to be part of. It gives you an insight on some of the vendors and that relationship you have with them, and it gives you go-to people for not only buying something, but just advice. And I think that's what
Hmm.
is so important about Jeeps is it's not always about where I go buy something or who I buy it from. That's part of it, of course, developing those relationships. Um, but it's, have you thought of this? Try
Yeah.
this, or this person might be able to help you. Who they're not even trying to sell me something; they're just trying to help me fix an issue that maybe they could have just sold me something for. So yeah, I appreciate that comment you made because it does allow for relationships that are lifelong, that
Hmm.
are very strong, and you know rewarding for both parties. I think in the relationship for years. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the things that people get kind of, I don't know, worried about going up to vendors that they're going to try to give you the hard sell, but it's really not the case in our industry. I mean, they are very willing to just chat and talk. They know that it's a long-term relationship they're building.
Yeah, and honestly, Stephen, you bring up a good point. Not everybody that comes to Jeeps is a decision maker. I know
Mhm.
vendors and feed and grain and uh, they like to have the folks that can make decisions, but a lot of people aren't coming there specifically to make a decision that day. There's some of
Yeah.
that goes on, and that's great. But you're right; they're there to answer questions, give opportunities, give ideas, and be approachable, just to tell a little bit about themselves as well. So that's a great opportunity. And hey, you get lots of pins and squishy ears of corn and all kinds of baggage tags, and it's really cool some of the things you see on the tables as well.
It's true. There's always the trade show swag that you can
Absolutely.
take. Vendors know, that you might not be the decision maker now, but if you're coming to something like Jeeps, they know that you might one day soon be a decision maker, and
Absolutely.
they're very willing to talk to you. It's always nice to see the students that manage to come
Isn't that
and
one of
walk
the best
around.
days we have?
Yeah, the student day is always
Yeah.
very fun.
I agree.
J
I get to be part of that again this year. This is my last year on, of course, the Jeeps board being chairman, but Deb Most kind of leads that up and does a fantastic job with the Jeeps organization. And we're going to have a panel again this year with some of us to be able to talk and
Nice.
impart that knowledge that we've talked about here, how important it is as a young person, the skill set it takes to grow yourself in an industry like we have. That's a fun day. And Jeeps does a great job of setting that up, invites a lot of college age kids to come and
Yeah,
take advantage of that. And the vendors just do a fantastic job, whether it's a scavenger hunt that day that you have to go to certain vendors and learn about them and bring something back, the support that they do for an event that night where the kids get together and network and have some fun at a bowling alley or and have some food. It's just a great day to further the investment in our youth that are looking to get into the ag industry. So, no, I appreciate you recognizing that, and it is going to be another good day in Kansas City, I think.
yeah, I think so too. And a lot of that is just imparting to people who are looking for a place in ag that the grain industry is here for them, right? Like this
Absolutely.
is we we want you to come and work for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look at, you yourself, you're in that ag grain industry and you're a journalist. There's just so many different aspects rather than dumping a truck or loading a truck. I mean, we
Exactly.
are
Yeah.
we're very involved, very growth orientated. There's just a lot of opportunities for young folks as accountants or IT and just scientists. There's so much stuff for people to do in ag. It's fun to be able to tell them about that.
Exactly. Well, Jeff, I think that's about all I have for you today.
Perfect.
Thank you for sitting down with me and talking
Uh,
for almost an hour now. um,
yeah, no, I appreciate what you guys do with the magazine. You guys have always been a huge supporter of not only Jeff to be able to speak at your exchange, your small conference that you guys had as well, but supporting the industry as a whole, MKC Jeeps. So on behalf of myself and my board, we thank you for everything you guys do and your organization as well, Steve.
all right. Well, thank you, Jeff. That means a lot to us.
Yeah, I've
It
enjoyed
really
today. This
does.
was fun.
Excellent. And thank you for listening, everyone out there. Bye, and we'll see you next time.